my wizards? It's Dev, back again from Strictly Better. We got some more spoilers, as usual. Last night, we got like 9 more of these to go through, and these, interesting, in that a lot of them are somewhat standard viable, more so than what we've seen. Yesterday, with the Megamorphs, we got a lot of limited stuff, and yeah, they threw us a bone with Narset yesterday, but this, today, a lot of really cool stuff, so let's run through some of these real fast. First guy I want to talk about is Dragon Lord Dromoka, my favorite flavor milkshake, and this guy, pretty cool. Some say, and I'm among them, that he's a little high cost, honestly. 6 mana is a bit much. 7 toughness is kind of cool, and you know, a lot of people have been going around the last few days saying like, oh, blue-white control is going to totally be a thing. Ojutai's Command got spoiled, and like I said, Narset got spoiled. People have been getting hyped for blue-white control, and this kind of shuts that down a little bit. He can't be countered, and they can't cast spells on your turn. Of course, they can still like Murderous Cut him or remove him somehow, Hero's Downfall, during their turn. That's a thing. I definitely think that he has a place in Standard, maybe a sideboard thing, or maybe not, maybe like a 1 or 2 of in main decks. All in all, I kind of like Dromoka. He might be my favorite Dragon Lord spoiled so far, though Kolagon's pretty cool too. I'm gonna go ahead and say that he right now, from what we know, is a 7.25 in Standard. He probably will be played against Control, and Control is definitely a thing, one of the top 2 or 3 decks in Standard right now. So I think we will see Dromoka. Second on our list right here is Ojutai Exemplars. I've been really thinking about this card. 4 mana is steep-ish for the decks that would want to play something like this. However, it does protect itself. That's an important thing. In the same way, some ways that Aetherling did, although you have to have card fuel for this, where you didn't really for Aetherling. You just had to pump mana into it. So that's a consideration. Gaining first strike and lifelink is pretty hot, and in aggro decks, tapping a creature is not a bad ability. Just being able to get through. It's basically target creature can't block this turn. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's really a kind of a tough call. 4/4 for 4 mana that can do cool things. Sounds good, but honestly, with the protect himself ability, yeah, I could get behind this. But at the same time, I'm really very ambivalent about this card. As you can tell, I'm wrestling with it. Right now, I think he's a solid 7.5, a little better maybe than Dromoka, just because he protects himself so well. Third thing I want to talk about, let's talk about Anticipate. A couple of thoughts on Anticipate. This is, at first glance, and subsequent glances, a very good draw spell. Looking at the top 3, sort of almost a mini dig through time for just 2 mana is pretty good. It's actually Impulse, the same cost, but you get to look at 1 fewer cards. So that sounds good. I don't know, however, in Standard, my beef with it is that I don't know that it takes the place of either Dig Through Time or Treasure Cruise. Both of those cards are very good and see an awful lot of play, especially Treasure Cruise lately. And Anticipate, I don't know, really cuts the mustard when compared to those other 2 cards. However, I think that once Anticipate gets a chance to shine and those other cards rotate out, that it will be a played card. Depending on whether or not we see Serum Visions. I think that Serum Visions might pop up here either in this set or Magic Origins, and that would be friggin' sweet if that happened. So right now, I'll go ahead and give Anticipate a 7 flat. Just a flat 7, and I know it's probably a little better than that, but it won't get a chance to be the card that it is until maybe a year or so from now. Now, let's talk about probably one of the worst cards on the list that was spoiled. Risen Executioner, and this guy's taken a lot of flack. He's going to be the bulk mythic of the sets. I saw somebody say that. And this is another thing, I hate to keep harping on it, but a couple people have also said, like, maybe post-rotation, we don't know what kind of zombies he's going to have, and, you know, yeah, maybe, but at the same time, I really don't see him being much. I don't even really like this guy in Sealed that much, let me be honest. He's efficiently costed, and you can probably bring him back for 4, 5, 6 most of the time, but he can't block. I hate creatures that can't block in Sealed and Limited, because that's, you know, 30%, 40% even of the game. So in combat is 90% of the game in Limited. So I don't know how much I like Risen Executioner either. I'm pretty cold on this guy. Maybe if we see more zombie-ish a little while down the line, but right now Risen Executioner about a 6.25, I would say. isn't too impressive, not on the radar. Here's a cool guy, Zurgo Bellstriker. God, it's like the names in this set are killing me. Zurgo Bellstriker. Aside from the dumb name, he is a really good card. He's got a whole 2 toughness, by the way, for the 1 mana. 2 power, 2 toughness, 1 mana. You really don't see that every day. And he can sort of block. Usually these red creatures and the black creatures that are one casting cost and 2 power can't block. This guy can, to an extent. He can't block anything with power greater than 2. 2 or greater, I think it is. That being said, he's a 1 mana 2/2 in a set that or in a color that really needs that. This is a fantastic 1-drop for red. The sort of budget mono red aggro that we see going around. This is wonderful for that. And it'll get a lot more play than a lot of the cards that have gotten spoiled so far in more than one deck. So I'm going to give him a straight up 8 1/4, I'll say, on this guy, just because he will see so much play. You'll be in lists, guaranteed. Number 6 on a list is Shaqiri Raptor. That's a hell of a name. Shaqiri Raptor. A lot of people are comparing him favorably to Witch Stalker from a couple of years ago, a card a lot of people like, myself included. And I also, on the other hand, think that people are overrating this card a bit. I don't know how relevant the Megamorph is at all, and I'm not entirely convinced that whenever one of your things is turned face up, he comes back. I think that's relevant because anything that can bring itself back from the graveyard is usually a relevant creature, especially if it just comes straight back to play. But I'm not entirely sure how relevant Morph and Manifest and all that is going to end up being. Let me know if maybe I'm missing something in the comments. I feel like this card, people are giving it a lot of love, and maybe I'm just not seeing it. Maybe I've overlooked something, so let me know. I'm going to give Raptor a flat 7. Now, of course, 3 mana, 3/3. The Death Touch is pretty nice. He can recur himself. You know, all these things are good, but I don't want to get... It's one of those cards I feel like people will get overhyped on and won't see all the play, but I could totally be wrong. This guy I like, by the way. This is Arashin Foremost. Yeah, kind of the Silver Blade Paladin of this set. And I've actually seen a couple people trashing this guy. I love cards like this. The 3 mana 2/2 double strike that gives other things double strike. I feel like this is relevant all day. Sure, it can only give other warriors first strike, but this helps out that black-white warriors deck like crazy. You know, you play your 3/2 chief second turn, then this guy comes down third turn, and they have a lot to deal with right there. What is that? 6, 10? That's 10, 11, 12 damage, something like that on the board in 2 creatures. So yeah, I actually think that Foremost is not in any way bad. Like I said, people are cold mostly because it has to be a warrior that he enables double strike to, but plenty of targets. You know, it seems like every other creature in the last couple sets is a warrior, so there is no lack of good targets for this card, and I think he's very solid. I'm going to give him a 7 1/4 on this guy. I think that he'll see standard play, but in a niche kind of way, but he'll be there. He'll be at the party. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and talk about Atarka's Command. The second command we've had spoiled, so we will get a cycle of these. And this one only costs 2 mana instead of the 4, so they could all theoretically cost different mana. I think 2 is definitely, since we're dealing with allied colors, the minimum cost. And the modes on this aren't incredibly impressive at first glance. This is a pretty decent card in limited environments, but in standard, I think that you can just play a land from your hand thing. I think that's the most interesting mode on the card, especially considering its instant speed. You can play lands on your opponent's turn. You can play lands during combat, which I don't think... I've been playing Magic for 20 years, and I don't know that I've ever played a land during combat. So that's kind of interesting. There's probably some landfall stuff. It's hard to judge this card at first glance. 3 damage to each opponent for 2 mana is cool. That's a good mode. Play a land from your hand seems decent, but you know, you have to have a land in your hand, obviously. The creatures you control get +1/+1 in reach. I don't know if that's strictly a limited ability or not. I think we're seeing a good green-red deck shape up here, but that could be a red herring. I'm not sure. Pun may be intended. So I'm going to go ahead and give Tarkas Command 6 3/4. Relatively, I mean, that's still a playable score, no doubt, but I'm just not entirely sold on all the modes of this card. Being able to do two things for 2 mana at instant speed, though, is always going to be good, so this card will do things. And finally, for this today's spoilers, let's talk about Scale Guard Sentinels. This card looks good. Speaking of green-red aggro, yeah, 2 mana for a 2/3, possibly 2 mana for a 3/4 is busted. I was going to use the word busted. Probably is, to be honest. This is reminiscent of, I think it was Ren's Run Vanquisher, which I didn't see as much play as everyone thought it was going to during spoiler season. Still saw play, don't get me wrong, still saw play, and it sees play in Modern now. But Sentinels is not quite that. We'll see dragons in Standard, that's pretty much a given. But how relevant that I can be a 3/4 type ability is going to be really is up to how the decks shape up. And we've got a lot of set to go. I think we've only spoiled about 1/8 of the set so far, so we've got a lot of set to go to see how things shape up. Although things are pretty darn exciting so far, honestly. They've been spoiling really cool stuff. Sentinels, let's go ahead and give it a score of 7.25 because I do believe it'll see play. It's just far too efficiently costed to not be played around with. It will definitely be brewed with. And I'm pretty excited about Sentinels. I think it's kind of cool. We'll see what happens though. I keep saying this, I'm not entirely sold, but this will see Standard play, definitely. Well, I think that's it for today, guys. I'm Dev from Strictly Better MTG. Subscribe because we'll be doing more of these spoilers. There's going to be more coming down the pipeline early tonight, and we'll try to get a video up as soon as possible. I should say late tonight, like 2 in the morning. So, yeah, subscribe to us, and then you'll get an email like, hey, we had Strictly Better MTG put up a new video. You should watch that. And then you will, and you'll be, like, super happy about it. So, yeah, do that. I'm Dev from SBMTG. I'll see you guys later.